Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour, ça va bien? It's a great morning.
My apologies, but I'm supposed to be after.
I think weather is federal, right?
Today, weather is a provincial responsibility. Tomorrow is federal.
Exactly. Take the good news, Peter. Take the good news. We need to move down. Okay.
Shall we? Anine, bonjour, hello and bonjour, Mino Gajab, and good morning. Allow me to introduce myself in our language Anishinaabe-Moan, as is appropriate, particularly on an occasion such as this. Najwe Makwakwe Indigenous, Wab Sashi Dodem, Chichak Dodem, Scugog Minising Donjaba, Mississaugas Gandao. I wish all of us in attendance today to have a very good day as we mark what is an extremely important milestone in our nation's history. I'd like to respectfully disagree and say that the Indigenous peoples of the Williams Treaties First Nations did have control over the weather today. It was not a federal responsibility. I couldn't help myself. My name is Kelly LaRocca, and I proudly serve as the chief of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you here today on behalf of the Chippewa and Mississaugas nations of the Williams Treaties, Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island. Welcome and thank you for joining us. We are gathered here today on our treaty and traditional territory, which encompasses the lands and waters that have sustained our people as far back as our collective memory allows. As Anishinaabe peoples, holding relationship to land and water is not a bygone past, but is part of who we are, and it continues to guide the responsibilities that we carry today. I would like to extend a warm welcome to my fellow chiefs, elders, knowledge keepers, community members, staff carriers, economic development staff, advisors, and community partners who have joined us for this very important occasion. I would also like to acknowledge and welcome our federal and provincial government partners and representatives from the Ontario Power Generation, Building Ontario Fund, and the Canada Indigenous Loan Guarantee Corporation, as well as the many guests who have traveled to be here with us today. Miigwech, thank you for joining us to mark this important moment for the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our teachings remind us that important work should begin in a good way. Before we begin our reflections this morning, it is appropriate that we invite the wise words of elder and former long-serving chief of the Curve Lake First Nation to open us up with prayer and words of welcome. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Elder Keith Knott to the podium.
Allez, bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
I know I'm hard of hearing, but I didn't hear what you said. Anine, bonjour.
Anine, bonjour.
It's pretty quiet over there, isn't it? Our voices have to be heard. Anine, bonjour.
Anine, bonjour.
That's a little better. Anine, nigan ka witness nikas. Makwa, makesendo tam. Ashki gmang non jaba. Miigwet sagden them. Kiragabashayek samanogam. Yimin godan sag jem de dosta nogam jem nagishkak. De kego go net zimin so. Ashum nagis gak nugum. Chikob the monk so ke. Can be. I'd like to take this time and welcome each and every one of you to this occasion. We have, over many years, looking forward to times like this, where we can get involved and be part of economic development or any other project that we are able to participate in. It is long, long overdue, and it's a great honor for me to be here with you today. I recall when we first sat at the table talking about today. And I've mentioned many, many times over the years, we got to walk side by side if we're going to get anywhere. We can't allow one walk in front of the other. We got to walk down the same road. We have the same goal in mind. We live for the future now. The past is gone. There's nothing we can do about it. But today is a day of celebration where we got together for the future. We think of all the little ones who are waiting for us there, talking and make decisions. Also, we're looking at 7 generations ahead. There are so many things we must look after. We think of the 7 generations. We think of the water that is behind us, the land on which we are standing on. All of these are very important to our existence. And what can we leave for the future? We've enjoyed the past. Now let's see what we can prepare and leave for the future. It's not always what you take, but what you leave behind. And what we leave behind is the future of this land, the children who we are doing this for. So I'll say a brief prayer. Gjamrado, Migwetsamin on the Kinugumeshgishgok. Migwetsan the Kidgasagami Jong say in S7. Bewiju Shanongson the Kidmanogum. On the sudden he got the keg, the nobman. Wop the Shanongsa. Yuck, Kenny Eshchigayon. Me so scouse even. Suggy any guns the what? Midwasa. The word me go to me Jean Kevin saw get a win. Kino mods the win give scouse even. I got getting with contact Tomagus men on getting with the Jackas men. We some no go minnow much sack. Nigan the Kagaji Shayong. Chewies Nucky Mungit Sakil. Copy shaw watch sama. We know what Kenagasa go shit to watch say show near. Niwit Sunday Guache. Shit 2 minutes of ghee. Chimney mud Zayonks again anyway. Co-op mishnang sandeket jemnedo. Misamnika kwech minase nogam. Miigwech, miigwech. And again, I'd like to welcome each and every one of us here today and our guests from the federal, provincial governments and all the employees that worked towards where we are today. Our consultation workers, our councils, our leaders, our chiefs, communities who are being informed what this whole process is all about. And working together, we can reach that goal because we have that path forward now that we can share and walk alongside each other, where no one is left behind and no one is racing to the finish line. Side by side we will walk and we will make it to the finish line one day. We don't hurry, we get there one step at a time. Hami gwestaminak dikirigaw sinweek, hami sumnikatagakidyonom, hami gwech.
Miigwech, Chief Knott, for your words and your prayer, and for helping us begin this event in a good way. Your leadership with the Williams Treaties First Nations and the partnership with the Ontario Power Generation has been outstanding. Today, the Williams Treaties First Nations gather to mark an important milestone as we celebrate our collective First Nation investment into the future of clean energy in Ontario. For close to a century, the chiefs and citizens of the Williams Treaties First Nations worked to have our treaty rights recognized, respected, and affirmed. Generation after generation carried that work forward. Many are no longer with us today, but their efforts, their determination, and their belief in a better future for our people has laid the foundation for this moment. Please indulge me as I set the context for what has brought us here today. Through repeated attempts at negotiations, eventual litigation, and settling on the eve of a provincial election, the journey of our ancestors and the perseverance of our people ultimately led us to the Williams Treaties Final Settlement Agreement in 2018. That agreement constitutionally protects the treaty rights of the seven signatory First Nations and is the backdrop for what brought us together on this sunny day to celebrate the ingenuity and progression and collective wisdom of the Williams Treaties First Nations and the relationship we hold with our federal and provincial counterparts. While no agreement can undo the past, the Williams Treaties Final Settlement Agreement marked an important turning point for our nations. It affirmed our treaty harvesting rights, which we never surrendered, and it created a stronger foundation for the future. It is also what prompts other governments, crown corporations, and proponents to take notice of their First Nations treaty partners when planning for major projects and economic development. With treaty rights that are constitutionally recognized, our nations are now invited as decision makers to consider economic development opportunities in our treaty territory that would never otherwise have been made available. No longer on the periphery, we celebrate today as one example of what can happen when First Nations work together toward a shared vision for our communities. For generations, our leaders understood that to thrive, the vision for success must be larger than any one First Nation chief, council, or community. That collective visioning is what guided our nations through decades of advocacy, through to the final settlement agreement of the Williams Treaties, which I mentioned, and now onto a new chapter focused on creating wealth opportunities for future generations. The Williams Treaties First Nations now have the first seat at the economic table. I hope there are many seats again in future. Our teachings tell us that wisdom comes from cherishing knowledge and learning from those who came before us. The wisdom that brings us here today was not created by any one chief or council or community or specific generation. It is the result of generations of elders, chiefs, knowledge keepers, community leaders, and citizens of the Williams Treaties First Nations and their advisors and staff who believed that our nations should continue to protect what we hold dear while creating new opportunities for the generations that follow. I couldn't be more pleased and honored, quite frankly, than to stand together with the chiefs of the Williams Treaties First Nations as we collectively reflect on the significance of this achievement. Today, you will get to hear from each of the chiefs of the Williams Treaties First Nations who will share their perspectives on this economic development opportunity in the context of our collective vision and our collective values. Next on our agenda, I am delighted to invite Chief Ted Williams of the Chippewas of Rama to provide detail of the announcement and center the discussions on the future we are looking to build together as First Nations communities and as major contributors to Canada's future. Miigwech, thank you for your care and your attention. Chief Ted.
Speaking of seats, please have one, dignitaries.
Yes.
Miigwech, Chief Kelly, for your introduction. And I do want to say miigwech for everybody for gathering to wish me belated birthday wishes. It was 2 days ago. You know, my community provided me with a rendition of Happy Birthday a couple of days ago, so you need to top that. Miigwech, once again, for all of your attention with us this morning. And it's about a subject that I care and we care deeply about for our people. We make decisions today that we hope will benefit our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come. We ask ourselves not only what is possible for our communities today, but what will be possible for them tomorrow. It is the love of our people that guided the generations of leaders who came before us. It is what has guided us in those who worked towards the settlement, the final settlement agreement with the Williams Treaty First Nation. And it's the love of our people that will guide us today and tomorrow. It is my honor as Chief Williams to announce on behalf of the Williams Treaty First Nations Chiefs. And First Nations Chiefs in unison say today, at this time, to announce our collective $700 million investment in Ontario Power Generation's Darlington new nuclear project. This represents the largest collective First Nation investment in a nuclear generation project in Canada. And today's announcement is much more than the size of the investment. It's about what the investment makes possible. It's about creating opportunities for future generations. It's about creating long-term economic benefits that will help to support the priorities identified by our First Nations, whether it's housing, education, language revitalization, health and wellness, infrastructure, economic development, and opportunities for our youth. It is about ensuring that future generations inherit not only our rights, but also stronger communities with greater opportunities for all who come after us. Today's announcement helps create a future for First Nations who are participating not only as rights holders, but as owners, investors, and partners. I just want to say, 56 years ago, my wife's grandfather was working on the Darlington plant at the time, and opportunities at that time were very limited for First Nations. To be honest with you, we weren't even a thought. But through strong leadership in the Williams Treaty First Nations and beyond, we find ourselves here today. So it's most important that we reflect on our beliefs that the generations who follow us deserve every opportunity we can create for them. I want to say this because love is not measured by what you say. It's measured by what you leave behind and the impact that you have on your community, on your people, on your family. And the choices we make today will help shape the future generations that will inherit tomorrow. It's now my distinct honor to invite Chief Taynar Simpson of Alderville First Nation to share remarks. Miigwech.
Ani and Bojo, Gima Taynar Simpson Indigenous, Alderville First Nation in Dunjaba, Wabashkeshi and Odom, Mississaugas Anishinaabe and Dow. I'm Chief Taynar Simpson of the Alderville First Nation. I would like to first extend a thank you to everyone else who came out today. I'd like to thank all of our dignitaries and chiefs who came today, as well as our partners in today's announcement. As Anishinaabe peoples, our relationship with the lands and waters is not simply one of geography or history. It is a relationship of respect. Mananajadiwan. Long before there were governments, industries, or major infrastructure projects, our ancestors understood that we were caretakers. Aki Nagdawandajig, those who take care of the land. They taught us that we do not inherit the earth from those who came before us. We borrow it from those who will come after us. Every decision we make must be measured not only by its benefits, but by its responsibilities. We believe stewardship means helping shape the future. It means asking difficult questions and undertaking careful review. It means ensuring that Indigenous voices are part of the decision that shape our future. Our participation in the Darlington New Nuclear Project does not lessen those responsibilities, because when we have a seat at the table, we also have an opportunity and an obligation to advocate for the responsible development, environmental protection, accountability, and long-term stewardship. It asks us to think about the generations who will one day look back and judge the decisions we have made. Respect reminds us that the decisions we make today must honor both the responsibilities we inherited and the responsibilities we will leave behind. We believe that by coming together as nations around a shared vision and a shared commitment to the future makes us stronger. It is now my honor to invite Councillor Jake King of Beausoleil First Nation to share some remarks. Miigwech.
Anim Bojo Kinawaya, Chimigwech Gabajayak, Kina and Denwe Maganak. Thank you all for coming here this morning. It's a beautiful day for this momentous event. Jake King Indigenous Cause, Chimnising and Donjaba, Megaze and Dodam, Ogema Gamagong and Dinjanaki, Gigado Nene and Dao. My name is Councillor Jake King. I'm of the Eagle Clan. I was born and raised at Beausoleil First Nation. And I'd like to thank everybody who came here today. And this is a very, very special day. No one person accomplishes great things alone. The Williams Treaty's First Nations are 7 distinct nations. Each has its own history, leadership, priorities, and community. Each governs independently and makes decisions based on the needs of its own citizens. Rather than asking what was possible individually, we asked what was possible if we worked together. Because today's announcement is a result of 7 nations choosing to work together, trusting one another, pursuing a shared vision for future generations. We recognize that our strength does not come from acting alone. It comes from understanding that we can accomplish more when we work together than when we work apart. That collective approach made today's announcement possible. Throughout this process, each nation maintained its own voice, its own leadership, and its own decision-making authority. Yet we remained united by a shared belief that by standing together, we could create opportunities that would be difficult to achieve alone. And it means recognizing that our decisions affect not only our own communities, but all 7 nations. In this leadership, it is not about what any one of us can achieve on our own. It is about what we can accomplish together for the benefit of those who will come after us. Chimigwech Kinaweya, Mio Kinawa Kirian Nongo. It is now my honor to invite Chief Laurie Hockaday of Curve Lake First Nation to share remarks. Aha, Miigwech.
Miigwech, Councillor Simpson. Anin Boja, Laurie Dijnakas, Wabagig Dodam, Oshgigamong Donjaba, Gimakwa Enda. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to everyone here. Collectively, I say that. My name is Laurie Hockaday. I am of the White Otter clan and am currently holding the position of Chief of Curve Lake First Nation. Our teachings remind us that bravery, Akwadewan, means moving forward despite uncertainty, because we know the responsibility before us is greater than our fear. Every generation is faced with moments that require courage. But because the responsibility we owe to future generations demands that we think beyond ourselves. The Williams Treaty First Nations did not arrive here by waiting for others to build our future for us. We arrived here by making the decisions to help shape that future ourselves. Today's choice required courage. It required years of analysis, discussion, planning, and careful consideration. And it required us to think not only about today's opportunities, but about the generations who will inherit the results of the decisions we make. Throughout this process, our nations have taken our responsibilities seriously. And we have worked to ensure that every decision reflects the best interests of our communities and future generations. Economic reconciliation is not achieved simply by inviting First Nations to observe development. It is achieved when First Nations have meaningful opportunities to participate, to invest, to lead, and to help shape the future of projects taking place within their territories. That is the path the Williams Treaty First Nations have chosen. And while today's announcement is important to our nations, the significance of this moment extends beyond our own communities. It demonstrates what is possible when Indigenous governments are given the opportunity to participate as partners, leaders, and decision makers. Bravery reminds us that meaningful change rarely happens by standing still. It is now my honor to invite Chief Donna Big Canoe of Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation to share remarks. Miigwech.
Anin, Chief Donna Canoe, Chippewas of Georgina Island. I'd like to recognize and acknowledge my council that is here with me today, Councillor William McHugh, Councillor Alicia Trivet, Councillor Benson Canoe, and Councillor Dylan Canoe, who are here with us today to share in this momentous occasion. Why this opportunity matters. The truth is that our communities have hopes and aspirations for the future. We want our children and grandchildren to have opportunities that previous generations did not. We want strong communities, good housing, quality education, healthy families, thriving businesses. We want opportunities for our youth to build successful futures while remaining connected to their communities, cultures, and identities. The truth is that achieving those goals requires more than good intentions. It requires the ability to create long-term economic benefits that support the priorities identified by our citizens. That is one of the reasons today's announcement matters. This investment creates the potential for long-term benefits that can help our communities for generations to come. Projects of this scale serve a broader public purpose. The Darlington New Nuclear Project will help provide reliable, low-emissions electricity to a growing province for decades to come. As Ontario's population grows and energy demand increases, families, businesses, hospitals, schools, and communities across the province will rely on projects like this to help keep the lights on and the economy moving. We believe it is possible to create opportunities that benefit our nations while also contributing to a stronger, more reliable energy future for all Ontarians. Today demonstrates that Indigenous participation and broader public benefit go hand in hand. And together we are contributing to a stronger Ontario and a stronger Canada. Today's announcement represents more than an investment. It matters because strong First Nations help create strong communities in Ontario and across Canada. That is the future we are helping to build together. Miigwech. It is now my honor to invite Chief Laurie Carr of Hiawatha First Nation to share remarks.
Miigwech, Chief Donna, Chief Big Canoe. Ania Tikdodem, Ajajakdodem, Megazekwe Laurie Noswin, Michisagi, Anishinaabe, and Dow. Good morning, everyone. Minogajeb. I am from the Hoof clan, relation to the Crane clan on my mother's side of my family. And my Anishinaabe Kwe name is Eagle Woman. My English name is Laurie, and I am chief of our community of Hiawatha First Nation. I want to first start with thank you, as I've been taught by my elders. Thank you, and I'd like to recognize Chief Elder Knott, the medicines, flags, and any sacred items that are with us in this space today, and to those who helped plan and organize this special announcement. I'd also like to recognize our honored guest, the Honorable Champagne, the Honorable Bethlenfalvy. Oh, thank you. The Honorable Lecce, Nicole Butcher, President and CEO of Ontario Power Generation, and her team, and my sister nation chiefs, and to everyone here today, Miigwech for being with us. When we talk about truth, it asks us to remember who we are and where we came from. It asks us to remain grounded in the responsibilities that guide us, even as we embrace new opportunities. As we bring our reflections to a close, I want to speak about what lies at the heart of every decision the Williams Treaties First Nation make, and that's responsibility. We carry on the responsibilities from our ancestors who cared for these lands and waters before us, and our responsibilities to the children and grandchildren who will one day inherit the decisions we make. Our responsibility to future generations means ensuring that First Nations are not simply responding to development occurring within our territories, but helping to shape and guide it. Our investment in this project does not diminish or replace our treaty and Aboriginal rights. This investment is an economic decision made by our nations on our own terms. It is also an expression of our responsibility as stewards of these lands and waters. As Anishinaabe peoples, our teachings require us to ask important questions and to continue asking them. They require us to remain engaged for the decades that follow, to advocate for the highest standards of environmental protection, safety, accountability, transparency, and long-term stewardship while holding ourselves and our partners to those same standards. They ask us to consider the entire life of a project, from planning and construction to operation to eventual decommissioning, and the stewardship responsibilities that remain long after today's ceremony has concluded. Our ancestors did not ask us to choose between caring for our lands and waters and caring for our people. They taught us that both responsibilities must walk together. Today, the chiefs of the Williams Treaties First Nations have entered into this partnership as a united collective to help guide and shape the future of energy development in Ontario and Canada. And before I conclude, and on behalf of the Williams Treaties First Nation, I would like to recognize those who helped make this moment possible. Chimigwech to our federal and provincial government partners, the Canada Indigenous Loan Guarantee Corporation, Building Ontario Fund, and Ontario Power Generation for working alongside our nations to create new pathways for Indigenous participation in major infrastructure projects. We also extend our sincere appreciation to our trusted advisors, Morrison Park Advisors, and Borden Ladner Gervais, whose expertise, guidance, and commitment helped our nations navigate this complex transaction and bring today's announcement to fruition. We are equally grateful to our lending partners, SLC Management, Manulife, and IA Financial Group, whose confidence and partnership helped make this investment possible. To the individual Williams Treaty First Nations Economic Holding LPs who make up the Williams Treaty Investment Holdings LP, we say thank you, Chimigwech, for your hard work and dedication. You have committed to this investment. To all our economic holdings groups in the audience today, Chimigwech for your hard work, our boards, our board chairs, and our CEOs of our boards. Thank you for all that you've done to get us this far. And finally, to our youth, we hope that one day you will look back on this day not simply as an announcement, but as an important step in shaping a better future. And now it is my honor and privilege to welcome the Honorable François-Philippe Champagne to offer remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada. Miigwech.
Merci. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Kwe. It's a real pleasure to be here. Elder, I was thinking, actually, when we work together, we bring sunshine. That's how I felt this morning. This morning is a great example. Listening to you, listening to all the leaders, the elders. I just want to say thank you. Today is a day of responsibilities, but also of ambition, of looking back, but also of looking forward. Making sure that, as you said, Chief, so rightly, people will look at today more than a landmark announcement in our nation's history, but as the beginning of something bigger, that our children and grandchildren will be very, very proud. The Seven Nations principle is one you will remember in my budget 2025. I made sure, elders, to refer to that, to remember, and that all Canadians are reminded of that very important principle. Today we're building on the wisdom, on the knowledge, and great work from many, many people. Today, in a way, and trust me, I've not even started this speech. This is just the emotion after everything I've heard this morning. But I feel really to say to all Canadians who are watching at home, we are unlocking our full potential, both in nuclear energy, but also in terms of Indigenous participation. Today will be remembered, Chiefs. You will be remembered in history of this country as those who had the vision to build for the future and to also be part of something great. This nation should be really proud of what we're building here today in Darlington, and I want to thank everyone who has contributed. Donc, bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. As you might expect, I'm very happy to be here with all of you this morning. The words of wisdom that you've pronounced before us are really important for us as we reflect as political leaders as to the way forward. It's a real privilege to be here today in a truly historic milestone for Canada, but I would say also for our partners in Ontario, which have done so much to make sure that we could be here today, and most importantly for Indigenous economic development. There are many, many people, chiefs, that deserve to be thanked, that deserve to be recognized, that deserve to be honored this morning. I don't think I can do justice to everyone who has contributed with their minds, with their heart, with their wisdom. But let me mention just a few people. All Canadians have had the chance to see you, and you spoke so eloquently. But let me just mention just a very few people that I want Canadians and everyone here to remember. I see my friend Emma Harrison, the MP for Peterborough, which is us. She's just back there. Emma, you should really be on stage. You've been a great champion for this project and the entire region. I want to say to my friend Peter Bethlenfalvy, you're an amazing friend and colleague. And I think today when we work together, Peter, and as you know, I think the Premier would be proud as well. When we are on the stage together, we make great things happen. And today with the Chiefs and the First Nation, we have demonstrated that this country works. When we work together, we achieve great things, and this morning is a great example. To Stephen Lecce, Minister of Energy Electrification, you've got a great job, sir. You know, being on this ground today, this is amazing. When you're looking at the people of Ontario Power Generation, I can think of the thousands and thousands and thousands of workers, families, friends, and neighbors. Thanks to the expertise, excellence, and know-how, we're building great things in this province. And I think they deserve a big round of applause. I hear the sound behind of those workers, but I can say, you make us proud. Make more noise, because we're building. When I hear the cranes, I know we're building this country strong, and it's a real pleasure. To Nicole Butcher, President of CM Tower Power Generation, thank you for your leadership. Oh, you're just there. Sorry. I was looking at your CFO. Very important as well. You know, on time and below budget. I love that. But thank you for your leadership. You have demonstrated to this nation we can do great things. And the world is watching. And we're going to bring your expertise, your knowledge across the world. And I can tell you it's a pleasure to be there. To all the chiefs, I just want to say thank you. There are many colleagues also provincially. I'll let them say a few words. But also to the Indigenous Loan Guarantee CEO, thank you for your leadership and passion to bring our Indigenous partner to the table. I think today what we've done together, we should all be proud. And you said it better than anyone else could say, chiefs. We brought dream into reality. We had to make sure that what may have looked like at the time, and I remember when you said some of your ancestors or parents would have seen this site. But today it's about being owner, it's about being partner, it's about shaping the future together. En tant que gouvernement, nous savons bien évidemment que la réconciliation économique et les partenariats avec les communautés autochtones doivent être au cœur de la façon dont nous bâtissons notre économie. That's how we create growth that is strong, inclusive, and sustainable, and we position Canada to be the strongest economy in the G7. And I can tell you the world is watching how we do it in Canada. When I'm at the G7, I'm so proud to talk about how we do it in this country. And then the Indigenous Loan Guarantee is a great example, a great tool in the toolbox to empower people, to make sure we do good things, but we do great things together. We made clear that when we delivered our budget, that Indigenous priorities are central to Canada's investment strategy. That includes $2.3 billion over 3 years to ensure access to clean, safe water in First Nations communities, as well as major investment to the $5 billion Trade Diversification Corridors Fund and the $1 billion Infrastructure Fund. We're also leveraging the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and I want to thank them to support Indigenous equity participation in major revenue-generating projects that will help deliver long-term economic benefits to the nation in areas like clean energy, transportation, and housing, and allowing communities, as you said, to choose their destiny, to invest where they think it matters, and certainly we are proud to support that. We also have expanded, and you would have seen the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program for $5 to $10 billion. And I want to say thank you to the Prime Minister, because Prime Minister Carr understood very well that empowering nations will allow us to build great projects in this country. And by giving the tools for you to be partners, like you said, I love the way you said, working alongside. That's what you said, Elder. That's what you said, Chief. We want to work alongside you to build these projects. Évidemment, ces investissements-là vont créer des occasions économiques concrètes qui vont renforcer la connectivité, soutenir une prospérité durable dans les communautés autochtones. And importantly, we've been clear when it comes to nation-building projects, Indigenous peoples are partners. And we want that today, Chiefs, to be a blueprint. I hope everyone is watching at home in Canada, and nations across our country are watching what we're achieving today, because today is a great example of us working together to achieve a common goal that generations will look back with pride and seeing that we have really made something, because it's not only First Nation, but I can think families, communities in Ontario and beyond will be doing that. And I see the workers there. Thank you guys for what you're doing. They're the real one building there. I see them with the red vest. So our government announced yesterday our new nuclear strategy, one that will help Canada expand our nuclear capabilities, unlocking our full potential as a nuclear energy superpower. And I think, Minister, you were with our colleague yesterday to announce that, because Ontario has been at the forefront, obviously, of the production of nuclear energy in this country, and there's much to learn from each other. And as you know, energy demand was expected to double by 2050, so this strategy will help us build this country, because many people would say energy is destiny. And today we've seen it in action. We're building for the future. We're making sure that our children and grandchildren will have the power in order to build this industry, build this province, and obviously build this country. That brings me to Darlington. That brings me to Darlington. And this is what I like here. This is vision and practice. I know Premier Ford would love it. This is not about words. This is about action. This is about building. This is about what you see behind. Also on the stage here, thanking the people behind who are making things happen for generations to come. And today it's a great milestone to celebrate as a nation, as people. And I'm proud to announce, and I think you've said it, Elder-in-Chief, but I'll repeat it for the camera, to make sure that this is known to every Canadian. This is our third transaction under the Canada's Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program, but it is the largest Indigenous loan guarantee ever issued in our country history. And I think big round of applause to all those who made that happen. This is a milestone. This is the largest guarantee ever issued in our nation history for First Nation participation. Donc, je suis fier d'annoncer la troisième transaction dans le cadre du programme canadien de garantie de prêt pour les Autochtones et, encore important, la plus importante garantie de prêt autochtone de l'histoire du pays. This program is about giving Indigenous community greater access to the capital they need to invest in major projects and share more fully in the economic opportunities, as you said. And you said it very well. It's not about today, it's about the future and how we're going to do things. Projects exactly like Darlington, the new nuclear project, is really one of those that I think we should inspire every other project in the nation. Well done, well managed, looking forward, producing what this nation is going to do. And this is one of the most significant clean energy investment in our nation history. Listen, I could go on, but let me just say that not only people in Ontario, here in Darlington, the region, are watching, but this will make Canada the first G7 country to deploy a grid-scale small modular reactor. I think we should be proud as Canadians. When we say we're going to build at speed and scale not seen in generations, we're going to be the first one in the G7, and we're going to show the world how we can do that. So as I conclude, I would say let's seize the moment. Let's be ambitious. Let's build Canada strong together. Thank you again, everyone. Let's build this country. Miigwech, miigwech, miigwech.
Thank you for serving us off with the
Bonjour, Annie. It's an honor to be with you today. I want to first off thank you, Chief Elder Knott, for starting us off in a good way. Not just a keeper of knowledge. This man is the fountain of youth. If you could believe it, I want to look like Chief Knott when I'm 70, let alone 90 years old. So thank you, sir, for your leadership, for your energy, your passion for this country and for the nations you represent. It's a true honor to share the stage with all of the chiefs, with the federal government, and with my esteemed parliamentary colleagues. The local, or most local member here, the member from Whitby, Lauren Coe, thank you, sir, for your leadership. I want to thank Rudy Cazzetto, the parliamentary assistant, the member from Mississauga Lakeshore. Thank you for your commitment to nuclear power. And of course, Ontario's Minister of Finance, Peter Bethlenfalvy, a great supporter of clean energy in this province. Thank you all for being with us today. Now we're here really to celebrate progress as we build big. We build at scale. We build for future generations. And we're doing something unprecedented, truly a series of firsts that I want to profile today with you all. This is amongst the largest and the first at scale clean energy project in the country. It is among the first time we have ever built a small modular reactor in the Western world. We're doing it here at home in this province. It's the first time Canada's supply chain has been fired up for a net new build of nuclear in a generation. Just weeks ago, for the first time, behind us, OPG, with millimeter precision, brought in the base mat, 2.1 million pounds of Canadian steel and concrete. The first time in 30 years, Canada laid the foundation for a new nuclear build. And today, for the first time in the history of Canada, First Nations are not just being part of the consultation, they are now owners of an energy project of this scale, a clean energy project for future generations. For this, I say thank you for making history with all of us. It is the first time First Nations have bought in as an equity owner of a nuclear project, a generation project in Canadian history, and we're proud to be a part of this. Yes, indeed, our Premier is a man of action. He wants to see results. He wants to see intergenerational progress. He wants to see for the next 7 generations that our kids and our grandkids are better off. And I was so moved by what you said earlier, Chief Williams. I think to the effect you said, love is not about what you say, it's about what you do. And the Chief Knott said, it's not what you take, it's what you leave behind. Let's talk about what we're leaving behind with this large clean energy project. We're talking about displacing the equivalent of 15 million cars of emissions from the roads, improving the air quality for generations to come. We're talking about creating 19,000 good-paying, recession-proof, tariff-proof jobs for another 65 years. We're talking about the supply chain of Canada being fired up at a level we've not seen from an industrial policy that's going to sustain employment for a generation. We're talking about the sovereignty, the self-reliance, the energy security for Canada at a time when, as you know, we face great levels of difficulty and adversity from the US and from geopolitical adversaries abroad. This is Canada's moment. In the past decade, 94% of nuclear reactors were built by the Chinese or the Russians. If there is one thing that unifies this dais, is that this country, these nations, Canadian people, stand for something good in the world, for human rights, for democracy, for freedom, for opportunity. And we want Canada, we want Ontario, we want OPG to lead the way, building on time, building on budget, which is the secret sauce of our success. So I'm honored to be here on behalf of our Premier, on behalf of our government, on behalf of the people of Ontario, to affirm to all Canadians that we can do big things together. We can do it in partnership, and we can do it for the benefit of future generations. So thank you all, Miigwech. It's a great honor to stand with you. And will you welcome Ontario's Minister of Finance, the man that brought the check, Peter Bethlenfalvy. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Minister Lecce. Usually, if it's the Premier, he calls me Mr. Moneybag, so I think you were saying the man with the check, the new phrase. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, Miigwech. C'est un grand plaisir d'être parmi vous ce matin. Chief Knott, what also an incredible introduction. and your words really stuck with me. It's a pleasure to be with you. I also want to, Chief LaRocca, your leadership and your comments and adding to my weather little shtick there. I think you trumped me, so well done on that point. So it's so great to be here with you. And the Chief Taynar Simpson of the Alderville First Nation. Thank you, Chief Laurie Hockaday, Curve Lake First Nation, and you've got some of your colleagues here from Curve Lake, not too far from here, 80 kilometers north and this a little over. Chief Laurie Carr, thank you. Listen, the Minister of Hiawatha First Nation, the Minister of Finance also struggled with Bethlenfalvy, so we'll give you two a break today on that. I mentioned Chief Kelly LaRocca of the Mississaugas Scugog Island First Nation, Chief Joanne P. Sandy from Beausoleil First Nation, love that Beausoleil, Chief Donna Big Canoe, Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, of course, Chief Ted Williams, we've seen you many times, Chief Chippewas of Rama First Nation. Thank you all for your leadership, your vision, and your incredible words of wisdom. Why don't we give them a real round of applause for their really profound words. Incredible. You can't stand here and not be impacted by those words. I do want to, of course, acknowledge my colleagues, François-Philippe Champagne, our Minister of Finance for Canada, and we do have a great relationship. Your leadership, your vision, your checkbook is also appreciated. Minister Lecce, thank you for your leadership. You know, you have to understand about Minister Lecce that it's not either or doing nuclear or hydro or renewables, it's and conservation. You know, it's the whole package. And you know, Canada is leading and Ontario is leading, I believe, the world in renewable in terms of clean energy, nuclear. In Ontario, we've issued more green bonds. Get this, more green bonds than all the provinces, including the federal government combined. So Ontario, through Minister Lecce's leadership, is providing a vision for Ontario that is unmatched, perhaps not only in Canada, but in the G7. So congratulations to you. Rudy Cazzetto, you've gotten the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Energy and Mines. He used to be my parliamentary assistant until Stephen Lecce stole him, so he owes me. And of course, the great MPP for Whitby, Lauren Coe. I used to call him the Gordie Howe, Maurice Richard of politics because he ran 9 times and he won 9 times. For people of a certain vintage, you'll understand what those players that I'm talking about. But he just won a 10th time. So you know what that makes him? 10 out of 10, the George Armstrong of politics. So congratulations to you, Lauren, on your great career. And to everyone else gathered here today. And Nicole Butcher, of course, the CEO of Ontario Power Generation, our friends from Building Ontario Fund, Canadian Development Corporation, the Canadian Indigenous Partnership Fund, and I'm sure I'm leaving someone out, so I'm going to say thank you and congratulations to all of you. So I've covered all of you. I just saw before, you might not have seen it, but there were 2 birds flying around over us. And I leaned over and I said, what kind of birds? And they looked like bald eagles. And in fact, they're bald eagles. And that's because of the stewardship of the land, to bring back the bald eagle to Ontario, that we care about the land, we care about the environment, we care about the planet that we shared, not just with human beings, but all forms of life. So that was a real incredible moment. And of course, I think it's a message that's for all of us to really absorb. And in addition, today is a day of partnership. It's about economic opportunity. It's about making strategic investments that will strengthen our province for future generations. I love that, future generations. You know, think about that, 65 years life of this project that we're building. You are standing in a moment in time in history, passing to future generations. I think that is a significant statement. L'événement d'aujourd'hui est une affaire de partenariat qui vise à créer des possibilités économiques qui s'inscrit dans la réalisation d'investissements stratégiques qui renforceront notre province pour les générations futures. Our government believes that when Ontario grows, everyone should have the opportunity to share in that growth. That means creating the conditions for investment, supporting major infrastructure projects, and expanding opportunities for Indigenous communities to participate in the province's economic success. This investment that's being announced today does exactly that. And I want to take a moment to congratulate and thank our leaders, Premier Doug Ford and Prime Minister Carney. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that's what today is about, including our great First Nations. The Williams Treaties First Nations $700 million investment in this Darlington nuclear project represents a significant step forward for an Indigenous economic participation in critical infrastructure. It creates the opportunities for long-term sustainable prosperity, and sustainability is absolutely critical while helping to build an important energy project. I also want to thank, I saw some of the workers there, Stephen, we've been out here a few times, and do you remember 1 February we were out here? I mean, we almost didn't make it, did we? But that was when we started this project a few years ago. I'm really happy we're here in June. This investment is supported by provincial indemnity through the Indigenous Opportunities Financing Program, as ministered, as I said before, by the Building Ontario Fund in conjunction with a loan guarantee provided by the Canada Indigenous Loan Guarantee Corporation. And this marks the first time that Ontario and Canada are partnering on a loan guarantee for Indigenous proponents. And it'll be the first of many, mark my words. And as part of our government's 2025 Ontario budget, a plan to protect Ontario, we tripled the Indigenous Opportunities Financing Program from $1 billion to $3 billion. And we expanded its scope to include eligible projects like this for energy, but in addition, critical minerals and resource development sectors. And I want to say this, François-Philippe, you may not know this, but we put that increase in our 2025 budget, and then you increased it from $5 billion to $10 billion. So we gave you a good idea, but you delivered on that good idea, and I think we can't do it without the federal government. Partnership, as I said, is so critical, so thank you, François-Philippe, for your leadership and your partnership. Through this program, we've also been able to support an incredible project, including the $250 million, which was the largest up to this point. Now it's $700 million. That $250 million project was to support a partnership between Saugeen Ojibwe Nation and Bruce Power to expand medical isotope production. We announced that just a few months ago. That's incredible. That's for medical purposes in partnership with First Nations. We also increased our First Nations ownership of the East-West tie transmission line with a $75 million provincial guarantee that will help deliver reliable and affordable power to the region. That's what true partnership is all about. This announcement builds then on our government's previous $1 billion investment in the first small modular reactors in the G7 at Darlington. Because as our population grows and businesses continue to choose to invest right here in Ontario, the province needs reliable infrastructure to support that growth. Clean, dependable electricity is essential to attracting investments and creating jobs and maintaining our economic advantage. This initiative also demonstrates what can be accomplished through collaboration. By working together with First Nation partners, federal government, and industry, we can build projects that deliver shared prosperity and lasting benefits for communities across Ontario and generations. Again, I want to congratulate the Williams Treaties First Nations on your leadership and your vision. Thank you to everyone whose hard work and partnership have made today's announcement possible. Together we are making strategic investments, strengthening our economy, advancing Indigenous economic opportunities, and building a more prosperous Ontario for future generations. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech. And now, thank you. And now, we saved the best for last. I'd like to welcome Nicole Butcher, the Chief Executive Officer, Ontario Power Generation, who's going to bring this project on time, on budget, and on quality Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Butcher.
Thank you and good morning. So I want to take a moment to thank the Williams Treaty First Nations for their partnership with us. We really look forward to the many, many decades to come as partners with our First Nations. I also want to take some time to thank Minister Lecce, Minister Bethlenfalvy, and Minister Champagne for their ongoing support, including the financial support. I won't call you money bags, but it's helpful, very helpful to us. So, and thank you to all today's guests for joining this historic announcement. We recognize the meaningful commercial participation in projects like this creates an opportunity for nations to benefit directly from ownership in a nuclear energy project, and to do so on their own terms. Benefits that will last well beyond project development and create generational value. We are deeply grateful to the 7 Williams Treaty First Nations for their willingness to come to the table and to share their guidance. Your guidance will continue to be essential as we move forward together. And now members of the media are invited to remain for media availability immediately following the closing blessing. After we end the event with a blessing, we'll take a moment to allow those who wish to return to the Darlington Energy Complex to return to the buses. A reception will be held at the complex. The Williams Treaty First Nations chiefs, Minister Champagne, Bethlenfalvy, and Lecce will return to the podium to take questions. So to conclude today's gathering, it is my honor to invite former Chief Keith Knott from Curve Lake First Nation to offer a closing blessing. Thank you, and miigwech.
Henri bonjour, semaine on the kid. What great words we have heard this morning from the federal, provincial, OPG, and the leaders of our communities, the chiefs. You know, these type of events is what makes one feel young. The work that is taking place and the relationships that are being built. And as we walk side by side, I think it might be around about 6 years ago, maybe even not that long, I thought at that time, it's like a light at the end of a tunnel. And sometimes you expect that light to be a train coming through that tunnel. But today reminds us that that was not a train that was coming. It was a light of success, a light of hope, a light of conquer, a light of advancement, a light for the many people, the first peoples of this land, and many other peoples. It has shone the light for us to work together, walk side by side. This is not a race. We don't decide who's going to reach to the finish line anymore. We walk alongside each other. Keep the communication line open. As we take one step at a time, we're looking down the road to our young ones, 7 generations and beyond. But it's been a great honor and pleasure for me to be amongst us here this morning. I'd like to thank all of those who attended here again this morning to receive the news that was delivered. I'd like to thank the federal, provincial governments, OPG, and anyone who participated to this moment of success. Our leaders have worked very hard, and one of the main things we are working for is trust by everybody. We need that trust as we walk down the road together to make sure and understand we are all heading in the right direction, the right ambition, the right goal, the future of our people. Let's believe in the Creator who created all of this. The Ke, the Npe, the Scugog. Let's remember who we are as a people. Let's remember our Creator and His creation. So I will close with a final word. I'll say a prayer. It has been a blessing for me to be amongst you here this morning. I'm real grateful that I have two of my daughters here with me today. And they're both serving on our council at home. I'm in the middle here. My oldest one is here, my oldest daughter and my youngest. So I'm the book that's in between the bookmarks. So I'd like to acknowledge them also for being here. So I will say my final words in a prayer. Gzemnedo, migwet semino on the kid, kan kwesta di yong samon ogom. Niba sa gigog gigdowak sa mo kimok kwewak gigdon ninwak kwewak. Anigan siwadga. Ano kaya bang keda men wina snagat nigan na kaya ni yashong. Ngikeda go chimishong sem skausi win. Kinumad zewirga zaged win. The was been second a check co-op madwagil at bedog sewat smoking. Co-op am gagil. Kuchega can taskwa, gamis what, actis what, pinochin suck, eskinig what. Mish kinasagego im skausi win. Ono sagden nigdak tumen sanogom. Namang nangawido cognon sayo. God jitbanks manogom. Madgo pisa bignunschena. Beno yakka ganep musamen. Misagna batchimik kwasmen on sanogom gzemneto. Ha miigwech. Ha miigwech. Thank you all. Miigwech.
We will now take questions from the media. Media present can line up behind me to ask your question through the microphone. Just a reminder to state your name and outlet before your question, and that the format is one question, one follow-up.
Good morning, Megan Fitzpatrick from CBC News. This is a question for Chief Hockaday, if you're willing to come to the microphone. During your remarks, you talked about the need for bravery and courage in making this decision. I'm just wondering if you could expand on that a bit, why it took courage and bravery. What were sort of the pros and cons that you were weighing as you made this decision?
Respectfully, I'd just like to say that, we have to think about our community. Many questions from our community and educating of the process and the investment and just doing it collectively, walking the path together. Bravery. We got a big responsibility to our lands, but we still need to move forward with our economic opportunities, and that's basically the decision making is collectively and a lot of discussion. We are stewards of the land, that comes first, and then the opportunities, along with the opportunities for our members that we will carry forward with the economic opportunities such as today, with the investments, and looking forward to many more.
Thank you. Minister Champagne, or anyone else, I may have missed this, but the $700 million investment, what does that represent in terms of the ownership stake that these First Nations will have in the nuclear reactor? And Minister Champagne, is there more of this to come in terms of what's flowing from Ottawa, in terms of other potential First Nations investments in major infrastructure projects?
Sure. I'll say a few words, and maybe colleagues may want to add. To your second question, let me take this. Yes, obviously, we're always looking at opportunities, and I hope today, like I said, is going to lead to more projects coming to the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program. Like we have doubled the size of it to enable projects like these to go forward. Project of national interest, and I can tell you there's more in the pipeline, but certainly today I think is a good blueprint of partnership, and I think you've heard from the chiefs, you've heard from the province. This is the kind of model you want to put forward, that we come together and we build infrastructure that are going to be needed for generation. I can think in the energy side in particular, but certainly there's more to come. When it comes to the equity interest, it's going to be a significant minority interest into the overall project. Like we said, the Indigenous Loan Guarantee is north of $700 million, which is provided by the federal government and the Ontario government. And that's going to be a significant minority interest, I would say, in the project. The exact numbers is being worked out because obviously projects of that magnitude are large. So therefore, we will come to the exact amount we can provide you once we have done the final assessment. But what I can tell you is that this is a significant minority interest, which represent, the commitment we have to work with First Nations.
I'll just quickly add that, this loan program has been in place since 2009, and we've ramped it up dramatically in the last couple of years. We're now at $1.3 billion. So to maybe do a real exclamation mark, the answer is yes. And that's a complete answer, a complete sentence, I should say, on that yes. So thank you. And Mr. Lecce, if you want to add anything. The equity interest and the structure of the deal, as the minister has said, the details will flow, but this is a significant long-term commitment, a very long-term commitment, negotiated over a fair period of time through collaboration and real, as the chief said, this is a big thing for the community, and so being very thoughtful and deliberate was incredibly important. So everyone took their time, made sure that they're fully on board, and we're so pleased with today's announcement.
Doug Boyd, Rogers TV. Mr. Lecce, it's for you. Can you just expand on the announcement from last week with the GE announcement in Paris?
Yes, it would be my honor. It's a profile, a win for the people of Durham and Canada. So just to make the case that this small modular reactor project is truly a nation-building case study, this project, with the 4 units we're building, the first in the Western world, represents $39 billion of GDP gain to Canada. $40 billion immediate infusion to our economy. It'll create 19,000 jobs, 3,500 permanent jobs. So the workers we see behind us and around us, these are jobs essentially for life, 65-year assets, a great achievement when it comes to our supply chain. But the element we didn't talk about is the Canadianization of nuclear generally. At OPG, at the Darlington refurbishment, the largest on earth, over 93% of the investment stayed in Ontario, stayed in Canada. It fired up the supply chain. It got tens of thousands of people working, but it supported small, medium-sized enterprises right across the GTHA in Ontario, rural parts, urban parts, everyone's part of this vision. Last week, we were in Paris for less than 24 hours. While we were there, we secured a commitment from Velan, a Montreal-based company that is now Ontario-owned, that has made two fundamental commitments. The first is to open up a new manufacturing facility here in Durham for the purpose of building the valves that will be utilized for building all the GE Hitachi small modular reactors in Europe. So every time a SMR is built, a GE Hitachi SMR is built in Europe, right? We're talking about roughly $100 billion of upside value in Europe alone for SMRs. This company and Ontario supply chain benefits roughly 50 to 70 million for every SMR, just for the valves. Remember, OPG is a co-owner of the intellectual property. So we create value on the sale, we make value on the supply chain, we make value every time we build them at home and abroad. It's a clear win-win-win for the Canadian supply chain and for every worker.
Can you tell us where these will be built in Durham region?
That was an announcement for the company they will make in the next probably 6 to 12 months as they secure land. But it's coming to Durham, and they know time is of the essence.
Kurt Brownridge, Global News, with a question for Minister Champagne. Can you provide us with an update on when the Gordie Howe Bridge will open? And before you answer, if you could let me get back to my camera so I could frame you up.
Sir, I don't like the last part of it, you know. It might be misinterpreted, you know, the way you put it. But I'll gladly leave you the time to take it. You tell me when you're ready, sir. Don't
Anytime,
rush.
sir.
We believe in health and safety first at OPG and in construction sites. So take your time. We'll be there.
Anytime, sir. Thank you.
Oh, you want to repeat the question for the camera? Or
Oh, no, just
well,
if you could provide us on an update on when the Gordie Howe
yeah, I
Bridge
appreciate.
will open.
Well, thank you for your question. As you know, we've been working with our American partners on that. The Prime Minister has spoke about that. There's nothing more that I can add immediately today to that. But what I can say to you is that we are in regular contacts with our U.S. counterpart. And we've made the case that, you know, a bridge allows trades to go both ways. You know, my message to our American partners is always to say, let's remember that Canada is your first customer. We buy more from the United States than China, Japan, and the UK combined. And I remind them every time I go in Washington, and that a decision on one side of the border will have an impact on both. Bridge are to enable trade. And when you think that 2/3 of the United States as Canada is their first market, that's a point that we're making regularly to our U.S. counterpart, while at the same time standing up for our industry, for our workers, and for Canada. And I think just say that, and I'll conclude on that. But today's a great example of focusing on what you can control. You know, a lot of people told me, Minister, we want certainty. Well, what is certainty in today's world is to focus on what you can control. What we can control is to work with our First Nation partners to build the country of tomorrow, to build the energy that is going to be needed, to build the supply chain that Minister Lecce was just talking about, to work with the government of Ontario to make sure that we create the thousands of jobs here and that generations. I met a worker here who told me when I was coming, I think he's there and he's smiling. And he said, he's there, you could see him, you can interview him after. It's the gentleman with the white hat and saying, waving. But he told me, he said, I hope I started 7 years ago, I got that right. And he said, I hope I will finish my career here in the nuclear industry. So people like him and his family will be benefiting from the great leadership you've seen from Indigenous partners to workers like him who are going to make their career here. And sir, we'll be there to support you at every step of the way.
Thank you. And a quick follow-up on that. Is Canada, Minister Champagne, is Canada willing to renegotiate the terms of the agreement around the Gordie Howe Bridge to give additional ownership to the Americans or increase the amount of toll payments the Michigan government will get, as this is something that President Trump has suggested publicly?
Listen, I won't go to comment publicly on what may have been said. You know, we have learned, I've been Minister of the Crown for more than a decade. So you might appreciate that we have learned over time not to comment on every comment that might be made. But what I can tell you is that, as you've seen from the Prime Minister and the Premier of Ontario, we always stood for what's right. We have always stood for the interest of the people of Canada. We have always stood forward for industry. And like I said, you know, today's a great example of us taking our destiny in our hand, working with First Nation partners, with OPG, and the great people that you see on the construction side. That should inspire the whole nation. And at the same time that we're always going to fight for Canadian interests in every field with respect to our U.S. partners, let us focus also on what we can do. And I can tell you, Minister Bethlenfalvy and I, at the federal provincial territorial meeting, we're going to have one in Prince Edward Island. We're always talking about what can we do more together, interprovincial trade barrier diversification, working together to see great projects like that. And Minister Lecce was just telling you how much we gain from projects like this. You know, thousands and thousands of families will see the benefit of the great work we're doing today. And I think it's a great day to celebrate. We're getting the full potential of what we can achieve here, and also we're doing that with First Nations. So it's a great day for the country.
Thank you.
I'm just going to add, can I just add one item to that? You know, it's an important question because Premier Ford, I don't want to be framed. Premier Ford is in America as we speak, helping make the case for two fundamentals. The first is to land a CUSMA renegotiation, or rather the continuation of this strong trade deal that has benefited Canada, reminding subnational leaders, governors, senators, as well as congressional members in a variety of key districts that are going to be consequential decision makers in the president's year, that Canada is, as was mentioned, the #1 customer for auto. The number of customer, period, larger than what China or the UK or France combined will purchase. We need to strengthen the information when it comes to Canada's value proposition to America. The fact that 9 million American workers arose today singularly because of Ontario's economic relationship, let alone that of Canada. So the Premier is in the US, working with the ambassador to forcefully make the case to open the bridge, to restore a free flow of goods, and to get back to building a fortress North America that allows us to compete against the true adversarial competition in the world. It is not Canada. I would submit it's not Mexico. It is the regimes of Beijing or Moscow that pose the greatest existential risk to America. And I think Premier Ford has been doing a very strong and effective job of building relationships, but also reminding Americans and Canadians that we have a common threat and a common opportunity through a continental approach to energy development.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference. If we can have the podium party stay back for a photo, that would be great.
Thank you.